Hello and welcome to the FM Health Club podcast. My name's Justin Waring. I'll be your host for today. And with me, as always, Jason Heshusius. No, that's wrong. Heshusius.
There you go.
Welcome, Jace. It's going to take me a while to figure out that a H-E-S is not pronounced ha for some reason. And alongside both of us is Wade Brady. How are you, Wade?
Good, thank you. You like the new penthouse?
Yeah. Geez, upgrade. So the podcast world must pay well.
Very, very surprisingly well, yes.
Surprisingly well, yeah. Welcome, boys. Today we've got a really interesting topic. We're going to get to very soon the 4 pillars of health and well-being. We will get to that in a moment. But first of all, boys, anything happened the last week? What have we been up to?
You go, Wade.
City to Bay has to get a mention. I know how to not approach it. I ran 12 Ks.
What's the City to Bay?
Okay, sorry. City to Bay is from Adelaide City to Glenelg, which is on the coast. Probably the most direct route from the city, just directly west. And it's 12 kilometres. They've got 6 kilometre and 3 kilometre options as well. But the big one's the 12. I was a middle distance runner at school. I had a crack at the 12. When I bought the ticket, the idea was to train. I didn't because childcare brings home a lot of colds, so that's my excuse. And I thought, well, suffer the consequences. You're doing it anyway. And my God, I've been so sore. I'm just starting to walk normal now, 4 days later, but I'm glad I did it, but I've learned a big lesson. I was just hoping residual fitness through the cross training and playing basketball would get me there, but the hips got sore at 2K mark, and the 10Ks running with sore hips was not ideal. And then we had about 5 or 6 members from the club did it, and it's great. The energy's good on the Monday, and everyone's talking about it's a hell of a mental challenge as well as a physical challenge. So you did it too, Jace?
Yeah, we did. We had a group that did it. That's one of the events that we promote in our club every year. We had most doing the 12K. We had a handful also doing the 6. We had runners and walkers, and it gives them a training focus. It gives me a training focus. I really enjoy it because I get to go out and participate with the members. We meet beforehand at Adelaide Oval and have a photo together, and then we go out and have a crack and give it our best shot with varying degrees of training and preparation. But everyone was really happy with their result this year, and we catch up afterwards, talk about how good we were, and then trot off for breakfast once we've collected everybody. So a good social morning. Everyone feels good about themselves, and positive experiences for everyone this year. Yeah. And we had a tailwind, right? I don't know if you noticed. Oh, sorry, Justin.
You had a tailwind?
Yes, we did. Yeah, it was much appreciated.
Did you feel like No. 12 Ks is just long enough, isn't it? Like just long enough for fatigue to set in, to having had to do some training beforehand. You kind of can't wing 12 Ks.
Yep.
Yeah, you need some kind of base fitness. The legs get very stiff. The calves get stiff if you haven't done put the miles in, so to speak. Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to get some training in this year, and I can say it definitely paid off to do so. A couple of the members didn't quite get to do so much, and they were sore for a few days, like you, Wade. So orphan there, mate.
And luckily enough, Wade, and I think in a few weeks we've got a podcast coming up about preparation, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully you will gain something from that when you listen to yourself talk.
I decided to do this thing about an hour before it started, so.
Oh, you made the commitment?
Yeah. I didn't have to run the whole way, but the stupid ego made me. So anyway, it's done now.
It'll do you.
Well done, mate. Good job.
That's all right. Yeah. If your members are doing it, if the people around you from the gym are doing it, I think you got to lead by example, don't you?
That's why I did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thank them for it.
Well, and I think one of the things I do in the gym, like I'll never ask anybody to do something that I won't do myself. So if I'm not willing to run 12 Ks in a fun run, well, I shouldn't suggest anyone else do it either. So, yeah, good on you, Wade. Nice. Next year.
Yeah, next year I'll be interested to see what difference it makes with a bit of training.
Very good. Very good. All right. So today, boys, we are talking about the 4 pillars of health. There is these are pretty common topics, pretty common elements to any health and well-being, but we're going to put them together in a package today to discuss. And so they're things that, the average person thinks about potentially in isolation. We're going to work through each part of them individually and show the interconnectedness of each of them and why each person should be addressing all of them at some point through a day or a week. So Jace, if you want to kick us off, what exactly are we talking about?
All right. So the 4 major pillars, and this isn't an exclusive list. There are other elements to our overall health. However, the 4 big ones we're talking about today are exercise, which is obviously our area of expertise, water or hydration, nutrition, and sleep. And I guess we just wanted to talk about each of those pillars and their role in our health overall. What happens when we do tick the boxes and meet what we would consider to be healthy levels of water, healthy nutrition, healthy exercise, and good healthy sleep, and what are the consequences if we don't. So and just like you said, Justin, a little bit about how there's some crossover there, how good food affects the other elements and how bad food affects some of the elements, and same for the other pillars as well. So
so why don't we kick off with exercise? Obviously the area we have our expertise in the most, and also the area that we work in each day. So if we had to boil it down, so obviously we have like our own gym members that we talk to and we provide programs to. So for the average person, Wade, if we're thinking about what exercise as the first pillar, what are the couple of elements that people should be looking to include as a starting point?
As a starting point, well, walking's probably the first step that I think anyone can do, and then start adding intensity. And intensity can be added, probably the most simple form, adding intensity through the speed or the incline, like maybe walking up hills, or adding resistance to movement, which is simply the stuff you do in a gym. You can do a lot of stuff at home with squats and push-ups, etc. It's funny, like walking's good, but I think if you're trying to tick the boxes of maintain or gain muscle, mobility stuff, balance, all these other things, walking's only going to do so much for you. So it's just a quick one that I've just sort of been thinking about lately is nearly everyone has a step counter on their arm these days. And people are telling me all the time, they didn't make it to the gym, but they told me how many steps they did. But my joke now is, how many MAPs did you do though? Which is you have to get into the workout zone. You have to add some intensity to get into the workout zone, which is over 50% of your maximum heart rate. So I think most people that do all those steps don't get into a workout zone. So I guess your body thrives on stimulus, and the more you apply, obviously you build it up over time. So and then all these other things come into it, like, I don't want to jump the gun on it, but a lot of people aren't getting to the gym to put that intensity in because they're underslept and they're not fueled properly and dehydrated. So hopefully I haven't stole your thunder there.
Yeah, so I mean, we're talking, so you've touched on like the basic kind of 2 elements that we would do in a gym. So some cardio, fitness, and some strength. Yep. So Jace, like the guys who are getting started with exercise or who are already exercising, say they're a member of a gym, and they're really comfortable being on the treadmill. They walk in, they press go on the treadmill, they watch their phone, They watch the TV up on the screen for 25 minutes, and then they get off and they, pull their leg up and have a bit of a stretch because they've seen other people doing it. We all know the benefits of cardio, and Wade's just spoken about adding intensity. Why should people be strength training as an addition to what they may already be doing?
Sure. So, good question. So why strength train? Well, there's a number of reasons. It's not just adding muscle. It's adding strength, obviously. Strong muscles are healthy muscles. Strong muscles can help protect you in the instance of a fall or some sort of accident or incident. It's also going to build stronger bones, healthier mobile joints that don't seize up as readily. There are knock-on effects to your cardiovascular system as well. So we talked about bone density, we talked about strength. It's coordination as well. With strength training, you're then starting to look at incorporating things like balance and what we call, compound movements, where the movement isn't simple, it's complex. So the connection between the brain and the muscles is healthy. So there's a lot of benefits to strength training. We talked about in week 1, we talked about the 7 planes of movement. So it's one thing to be strong and be able to lift heavy weights, but it's also another thing to be strong and be able to move in different directions. So being able to rotate, being able to lift things overhead, being able to do things a little off balance. And that isn't something that you're going to intuitively know to do if you haven't done any research yourself. Strength encompasses a lot of things, wouldn't you say, Wade? Beyond just the simple lifts.
There is a simple list, but God, the list, overall, the list just seems to be growing all the time. Like, just a quick one I want to add in this morning, a healthy nervous system. So there's more research being found now that people that do a lot of strength training are keeping a healthy nervous system. We could go into I think it was BAG3 or some chemical that's produced that keeps your pathways in your nervous system clean, and you're going to be way less likely to get things like Alzheimer's and these nerve. It's a long list. Like yes. I don't know how much more research has to be done till everyone's on board with starting, but I don't know, Justin, can you think of any other ones off the top of your head?
No, I mean, that covers it all. And I think when we look back, I mean, we're all guys of a certain age. If we go back to when we were teenagers, we used to think about our grandparents who kind of you get to a certain age and people would say, hey, no, don't lift that. You'll hurt your back. Don't pick that up. Don't do this. I'll do everything for you. Just sit there and relax because you really don't want to hurt yourself. Fast forward kind of 20 years, the exact opposite now is true. Please pick that up. Keep lifting things. Keep building muscle. We know muscle deteriorates over time. So we need to keep not replacing it, but we need to keep building it. The more muscle we have going into our older age, the better. And we need to keep using it as that use it or lose it scenario. So a similar way, I'm not sure how much more research we need before people get on board. But yeah, strength training, an absolute necessity. Jace?
And I just wanted to add in there, we mustn't forget the relevance of mobility, of healthy range of motion, of flexibility, and the ability to be able to bend and stretch and move in and under load in as many directions as possible. Because again, that strength is important, but it's what you're getting is that functional strength, the ability to squat, the ability to bend over, the ability to twist and turn and to do it safely without the risk of injury. And on a separate note, the number of times, the older I get, the number of times I've heard about someone's health taking a turn after having a fall. You get to an age where you don't fall over anymore, you have a fall because you are of a certain age, and that fall leads to an injury, and that injury leads to a sharp decline in health and fitness. I know I'm projecting 30, 40 years down the line for people of our age, but when we get to our 80s, we want to be strong enough so that we can avoid those falls in the first place. So the balance is good. So the mobility is good, and these injuries are a much, much smaller risk. Rant over.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess if from this small segment here, if you take anything away from what we've just spoken about, and we've banged on about strength training. So I firmly believe anyone can do some cardio fitness, and they don't even need too much instruction. Anyone can walk quickly, and then everyone can turn a quick walk into a run. Like, it's not that hard intuitively. Anyone can walk up a flight of stairs and go, oh, my heart's pounding a little bit. That's probably good for it. So people have seen other people on bikes. They've seen people swimming. So they've seen people bushwalking, walking up a hill. Like, all of those things, cardiovascularly, fantastic. Do any of them, whichever one you like. Doing some strength training probably requires a little bit more knowledge. Go and find someone that can help you. If you don't go to an EFM gym where there is a trainer there, but if you have joined a gym, or even if you're at home, find someone to help you start to build some muscle at any age. Any age. It doesn't matter if you're 85 and, like at home, retired. Find somebody, relative, whomever, to give you some starting points with a band. Go and book a personal training session, anything, but please start building some strength at any age. Kids, of younger 15 and below, they're already doing a lot of the things that we're trying to replicate in the gym. They're already squatting, they're jumping, they're doing explosive work, they're lunging, they don't even know they're doing it. So strength training, go and find, my biggest takeaway from this little conversation, go and find someone to help you.
It's a hell of an investment. Like, personal training might be looked at as a huge expense, but some people spend so much money at physios and things, trying to fix things that were caused by not having strength. There's so many different ways you can look at it, but we invest in so many things in our lives. We pay big bucks to get our car serviced and all these things, but you get one place to live in your body. It's amazing. Some people are spending lots of money in investing in themselves, but it's just a change of mindset, I think. And you might not need a personal trainer forever, but hey, you might even enjoy it as well. So it might be an experience 2 or 3 times a week. So
and just finally, like, it's not exclusive to ladies, but a lot of ladies will say to me, I don't want to get big. I don't want to get too muscly. That's not what I want. I can guarantee you that we don't have enough time to turn you into a bodybuilder unless you want to be. So, you don't, worry about getting a fast car. You don't buy a car and worry that you're into an F1 driver. So don't worry about getting too large a muscle to feel bulky. That's not going to happen. With very small increments in muscle mass as we go along. So,
and if it did happen, you just lay off the weights a bit and it would reverse.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So our next step along this process, so we've covered off the exercise, like our area of expertise, exactly what we want to talk about, really easy to flow through, but flowing into the next stage of nutrition and how that affects how we can exercise and generally how we live our life. The nutrition aspect gets a lot of airtime in terms of what's good, what's bad. There's a different study every other week. Eat this, don't eat that. There are some general guidelines that I think we try to follow and instill in our members of the gym. Jace, what are you, in terms of nutrition, what is your general guidance towards people you talk to?
Okay, so when I'm talking about nutrition with my members, first I understand that I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian. However, as part of it, training, we do cover nutrition to a certain extent. And so I guess I try to speak to my members within that scope of practice. That means that things tend to get kept fairly simple, but that's probably for the best anyway. For me, there's a handful of key tips, but before that, I guess I would say that your nutrition is going to affect everything. Your nutrition is going to affect how well you exercise. Your nutrition is going to affect how well you feel when you get out of bed in the morning. It's going to affect how your body functions overall, not just from an exercise standpoint, but how are your bowels, how are your organs, how's your brain, how's your skin, and I guess the quality of the food that we put in and the range of the food that we put in is going to impact that. The time that we put the food in is going to impact that as well. So there's a lot of variables. What does that mean as far as the conversations I'm having with my members? Again, try to keep it simple. Processed foods aren't ideal. So anything that's in a packet is not generally where you want to go first. The exceptions being like your frozen foods and certain canned foods, and sticking to the perimeter of the supermarket is a little tip that one of my members used to be, I guess, the manager of a supermarket, and he said if you stick to the perimeter, you're going to find healthy food there. You don't find the garbage. So that's one key tip. The next one is to look for the added sugar. Read the back of the label. You're looking for what are the ingredients on the back, and is there added sugar? B, what's in the ingredients list that isn't natural, that isn't a food? So those are some basic principles. Outside of that, I'm generally saying have a look at your plate and making sure that there's plenty of color, that there's plenty of vegetables, and that especially for your main meal, typically, with things like pastas and rices, and when we're having potato, we can get sucked into having a big portion of the pasta, rice, or potato. Make that portion a smaller portion on your plate. This is nutrition is telling me this one. A quarter of your plate being the carbohydrate based, quarter of your plate being the protein based, and then a half of your plate being your colourful vegetables. They're good for your inside. So apart from that, don't drink your calories because that's a waste, and try not to eat after dinner because you're just putting fuel in the car before you're parking it in the garage. So those are probably some good ones for me.
Yeah, and I think often people only start thinking about nutrition when they want to lose weight. So a lot, people eat and eat and eat whatever they feel like, and then start thinking about, I probably need to lose some weight. I might need to start thinking about nutrition. So Wade, why would you think of nutrition without the cause and effect of I just need to lose weight? Like, what's nutrition going to give people other than weight loss or weight gain? Why would you worry about nutrition at all?
It's going to improve feeling. We can't measure how we feel, but and a lot of people are really in tune with their body, and they'll make an adjustment to their diet, and they recognize that the feeling better could be just, I don't know, usually energy levels, I would say. So if you've got better energy, being just more mentally sound, or however you want to put that, like just more switched on at work, a lot less cloudiness, I suppose you could say. I might be getting a bit away from the question here, but another thing that pops into my head, I just want to, at the start, you said that Jason made it clear that we aren't nutritionists, okay, but I think one thing we do have, though, is a real interest in nutrition. So when we hear something, we listen properly, and we hear things from everywhere across the spectrum. We see an article that looks like clickbait. What do they mean by this? And then you have a read, and we're always trying to filter out good from the bad. Like it's very difficult. But also just a couple of tips that I've picked up over the years is so go back to Jace's plates. Always have, even with his snacks, always have a protein because it's going to fill you up. And something fruit or veg as well, particularly veg. If you can always try and have that with your snacks and your main meals. Look, I've done it myself. I used to have like small salad and veg on the plate, and now it's probably half. You create a new normal. It's completely normal for me now to do that, thanks to the influence of my wife. And then another really good one is the inflammation from eating packaged. And I think it was Shani, another EFM franchisee, said to us years ago that if you eat something that's inflammatory to your system, the damage is happening on the inside, but because you can't see it, it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And I like the analogy she used once. I'm just going to give you quick 2 analogies that might be a bit of gold moving forward, something you can work with. Is if you put a cream on your skin and it all got inflamed and red, you wouldn't use that cream again. Of course you wouldn't. But if you eat something that's inflammatory and you get bloated and stuff, but I guess the difference is you like the taste of it. Because she said, think about your digestive system is skin on the inside that you can't see, and it's getting red and inflamed. But because you can't see it, you'll keep eating that thing, and the inflammation just keeps building. And then the other one is with having the protein with your snack. It's more filling. It gives you more energy. And I love this analogy. I think this was from Shani as well. It's like putting a log on the fire, which will burn long term. But if you just have, I don't know, a piece of toast with some honey on it, that's like throwing scrunching up some newspaper, throwing that on the fire, and you get a big burst of energy, and then it's gone again. So there's a couple of good ones which have always stuck in my head.
Yeah. Actually, they're really good. I mean, people need to really take an interest in nutrition. It's a little bizarre. As human beings in general, we don't care that much about what we put in our mouth and how we feel. Like, I have zero interest in cars. Let me put this, because this is the second car analogy I'll make. I have zero interest in cars. It doesn't bother me at all, and I don't have a great car, and I'm not interested in F1. But if you're putting really rubbishy fuel in your car, like if you found the dodgiest possible petrol station and went, yeah, this will do, I don't really care what goes in my car, someone would yell at you, don't be so stupid. But we put in potentially the worst food in our body, and we love it. We're putting junk in our own system, and then our system has to process it out. At some point it falls apart. So we put garbage in, we're essentially going to get garbage out. So it's something we really should take a lot of note of, and interest in our own nutritional health, I believe. Jace?
Just to add to that, Justin, inflammation bears out differently for different people. There are a lot of the diseases that we suffer as we age are treatable with exercise, water, sleep, and good nutrition. And bad nutrition is a big cause for the health of our cells. That might come out with some people with inflammation in their joints. That might come out with some people inflammation in an organ. It might come out in the inflammation in the form of, say the word, cancer. It might come in some other sort of inflammation, diabetes, high blood pressure, all brought about, all can be brought about or prompted from putting the wrong things into our body. Not to say they're the only causes of those things, so I don't want to get cornered there, but they all contribute heavily if we're not doing the right things, if we're not putting in stuff that's naturally grown and what are real raw healthy foods. So
so this, like these first two pillars, they feed into each other really nicely. Unless you're fueling your body particularly, or well, you don't even have to be particularly well. If you're fueling your body well, you'll have the energy to go to the gym, to exercise, to do the things that'll strengthen your body to feel great. So they'll work in pairs. If you go out have a really, like, if your intention is to go to the gym in the morning and the night before you have, bunch of alcohol, really fatty, calorie dense meal, follow it up with a chocolate sundae, trying to get up the following morning, little bit difficult. They're going to feed into each other, and if you do these first two elements really well, they will trade off, and you'll feel better and better and better as you go, and they'll help you grow exponentially. Start getting one wrong, particularly the nutrition side, then it will affect your exercise. I mean, look, we could talk about nutrition and not nutritionists, for days and days and days. There's a lot to cover. We're trying to be a little general now. But then if we go from nutrition into our third pillar as water, and being hydrated, because it flows on very nicely, no pun intended, from the rest of the food you're eating. Jace, how would, I believe I'm chronically dehydrated. Like, that's just my own belief.
Yep.
I know I don't drink enough. It's usually a goal of mine to drink a lot more. I get busy like most people, and I know I don't drink enough. How would I know that I'm dehydrated?
Well, there's a number of ways. The one we were talking about off air is when you go to the bathroom and you take a pee and it's not clear. So a little bit of colour is fine, I'm told, but when you're getting a lot of colour, that's suggesting you've not got enough water in your system for one reason or another. Another one is obviously you're going to be getting a dry mouth. By that stage, you're probably at the stage where you are dehydrated. You definitely don't have enough water in your system. So you'll notice you're more fatigued if you're tracking that. Some of the things you might not notice but are going to happen is your body just doesn't function as well. Or you were talking about you can't see it, Wade, and it's on your inside. You can't see that your liver doesn't work as well. Your kidneys don't work as well. Your heart doesn't work as well. Your lungs, everything. Your cells don't work as well when they're not hydrated. Guess what? For the people out there that are listening to this that want to lose weight, if you aren't hydrated, you don't burn fat as well. You don't burn energy as well. You can't tap into your energy stores. You can't lift your effort level and exert yourself as effectively. Your body can't create energy. You can't create ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. That's what we use for essentially what we create for every muscular contraction. In fact, every process within your body, you can't generate that as well if you aren't hydrated. Your brain health isn't as good. We need to be hydrated. So I've gone on a rant now about why we need to. Your question was, how do I tell? Fatigue. If you're waking up tired all the time, if you're use the P test, if you're feeling dry, but to be honest, the best check is to get your water bottle, roughly 33 mils per kilo of body weight, they say. Well, get your water bottle, measure that out, and what does that look like? If you're not doing 33 mils a day, you're probably going to be dehydrated.
Yeah. And so, that's the most extensive hydration report we had, or going to get. Wade, scenario, I'm at the pub, 5 beers in, which is like, I'm almost on the floor at 5 beers, but 5 beers in, I go to the toilet, it's super clear. Is that a good thing?
Why do I get this question? It's not ideal.
I thought it was something you knew about.
So that's where the rule goes out the window, because like coffee, alcohol sucks the fluid out. So if you're drinking and you've got the clear flow happening, don't be fooled, because it's going to be very yellow the next day. So that's not a good thing. If you like to get out and socialise and have a few drinks, they say, keep the water up, have a drink, have a glass of water. Like, there's things you can do. Like if you just can't, say no here and there. So no, that's not an ideal situation. That's where the rule goes out the window.
Yeah. And there's a reason why, if you're a little bit hungover, you've had a few drinks the night before, whether it beer, wine, whatever, and you wake up with a headache, you're now severely dehydrated. It's a really clear indicator of what can happen when you do get severely dehydrated. So look, water, much even more importantly than nutrition. Like, you can't live without water. You can go without food for a while. You can't go without water.
It's funny. Just if I could just jump in there, I was thinking food and hydrating and food, they're quite different in a way. Like, if you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated. Bad luck, too late. But if you're hungry, it's different, because there's all this research now to support that fasting's good for you, but fasting from water is not good for you. So I don't know if you've ever thought about it like that. They're very, very different in that respect.
Yeah. Do not intermittent water. Yeah, no intermittent fasting of water. It's not necessary, actually bad for you. So keep the hydration up. That's our third pillar, and that feeds into good nutrition, because you won't feel as hungry if you're well hydrated. You'll feel hungry at a more sustainable rate. You'll be able to exercise with more intensity, being hydrated as well. You'll also work better. You won't get the brain fog, like I said, the stinging headache when you wake up if you've had a few drinks the night before.
Clarity is much better when you're hydrated, and sometimes I've got to the end of some morning sessions and I've just felt more tired than normal, and I've been cloudy-headed, and then I realised, where's my water bottle? So, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, exactly. And then if we move on to our fourth pillar, sleep, look, I have seen different types of podcasts and volumes of book written on the importance of sleep and how to sleep properly. And for our kind of context here, we're talking quite generally about the need for sleep. I feel like for some people it's a bit of a badge of honor not to get a lot of sleep. I'm too busy, I don't have time to sleep. The value of sleep, boys, like is maybe a little underestimated. Hopefully, I see more and more conversations about the value of good sleep and the different sleep cycles. What have we got in terms of recommendations for people for getting better sleep, knowing just overall that it's really valuable?
I've got a theory.
Who's got a theory? Wade.
I'm an observer. My theory is shut the power off at 9 o'clock every night in everyone's house. Batteries, so the phones die as well. Everyone's going to have, it might be a population boom, but everyone goes to bed early. The biggest problem, sorry, Jace, I think in the modern world, I don't think this would have been such a problem going back before all the platforms and distractions. And I'm guilty. I start and watch things that interest me.
One episode though.
Just one more. And I just think if it's just that there's so many distractions now, and you have to use a lot more self-discipline. I mentioned last week that we've been watching a series, and my wife's very disciplined. That's why we actually stop at one episode, because I'm not in control. But I think you can understand, like, by an analogy there. Like, if the power was shut off to the house, you'd go to bed early, you'd get up earlier, you'd be more likely to go to the gym. You're going to think straighter all day at work. It's so obvious.
Yeah. It's a huge snowball effect, isn't it, Wade?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I like what Justin said about the badge of honor thing. Like, you do I don't know. It's a thing.
So just on the back of that, Wade, you start thinking about, well, what contributes to a good night's sleep? Well, let's go back to our other three pillars. That your exercise, when you exercise, that gives your body the physical appropriate level of stress to get a restful night's sleep. If you don't exercise, try not exercising. As someone that trains regularly, try not exercising for 4 or 5 days and see how your sleep goes. You're not going to have much fun. Second one, what you eat and when you eat. So having a meal, even if it's a healthy meal, not long before bed, your body's meant to be resting and restoring, not processing food that's still in your tummy. So, you want to be getting your meal at least 3 hours before bedtime. And that food is good quality food, non-inflammatory, because that's going to lead to a better night's sleep. Your hydration, guess what? You sleep better when you're hydrated, right? Not too hydrated, because otherwise you're getting up and going to the bathroom. There's a balance for everything. But you sleep better when you're having consistent water, when you're getting
just
that
on
good.
that one, the good tip I've heard lately, it's pretty obvious again once you hear it, do most of your drinking of your water earlier in the day and then like back it off as the day goes off, so you don't end up having to interrupt your sleep with getting up to go to the toilet.
And that's some gold right there, because that's, again, the analogy I made before was putting fuel in the car and then parking it in the garage. Get your fuel in early in the day, because we want to be able to shut down at night. And you're so right, Wade, about the distractions and that sort of thing, that the light that we live under. When the sun goes down, that's our body's natural trigger to start getting prepared to go to bed and go to sleep. We'll have the lights on in the house. We'll have the television on. We've got the phone going. You might have some music playing. Things that all stimulate the brain. Those blue lights that they tell us about. And then you're not getting into that restful sleep that you would like. The distractions in your room as well, and your environment.
It's twofold. Like the blue light stuff gets a lot of bad flack, and I'm sure it's a thing, but it's also probably more the fact that people are actually just staying up longer and longer. Not only are the mind's busy when they probably go to bed, it's just that you're just reducing that window of sleep. So there's two things.
Less overall sleep.
Yeah. And looking at and really very simply, when you send, if for the people who have children out there, you send your kid to bed to go and read, and read a book, not grab their phone and look at the lights. Send your kid to bed to read, so that they're calming down, and getting into a bit of a mindful state. It's almost a bit of a meditative state as you start to read through, particularly a novel. You're getting involved, and then that slows you down, ready for bed. I'm usually exhausted at the end of the day, and do have a book at my bedside table. I'm lucky to get through half a page before it falls out of my hand and I'm asleep. But look, none of this is rocket science, really, is it? It's things that we were taught a long time ago, in terms of sleep. Dark room, don't look at anything stimulating. Let's not rev everybody up before they try and head off to sleep. Set a bedtime for yourself. Like, it's bedtime and then getting up
routine.
Time.
Consistency there is really important.
Yeah, for everyone who has children out there, we send the kids off to bed, firstly to have a bit of a break from them, but secondly, so that they have a routine, and then we don't want to set that own routine for ourselves. So, set yourself a routine, and much like the routine we have for exercise, the routine for sleep, once established, enables you to do it very regularly without the motivation to go and get off to sleep. We don't need the motivation to get to bed. Routine, go, bang, 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 feel better, wake up, exercise, allow yourself to eat better, be really hydrated, and suddenly you start feeling alive. You start feeling really healthy and motivated within yourself. And you're like, okay, this is what feeling healthy is all about. It's and it may feel different to what you've felt previously when you haven't paid attention to those 4 particular elements of your life.
It's a good concept though. Like, we're better at parenting our kids than ourselves a lot of the time. It's like we make sure they eat well and they go to sleep and they stay away from screens before bed. But for some reason we let ourselves get away with it.
And have someone to keep us accountable.
No one ever tells you've got to parent yourself for life.
No, that's right.
Unfortunately, we have to. So look, and there are 4 pillars. We also, if you go, all right, what are these 4 pillars? I might do some research on the internet. You'll also find additional pillars of meditation and mental health. At times it is thrown in there as the 4th pillar if you take out water and throw it in nutrition and other elements. So we didn't really want to, touch too much on mental health and meditation in this podcast. It will come because it's something that exercise absolutely feeds into and is one of the cornerstones of having good mental health. Just finally, I guess what I'd like to say, because you boys have spoken a lot, I've leaned on you in terms of your expertise. The question as to why do we need to be healthy? Like, what's the point? Is something that, like, I feel needs to be addressed. Like, why? Why do we go to all this trouble? Wouldn't it just be easier to eat junk food? Because I really like it. I'd prefer to watch TV. I don't really want to go and exercise. I really like sleeping until midday. I don't want to go to the gym. Why would we do it? So, number one, is to live longer, to live, better. So, with poor eating habits, less exercise or no exercise, you're at much higher risk of heart disease and associated kind of ill health factors. And they tend to come after a little while of indulging in unhealthy practices. But along the way, you also feel unhealthy. It's not a matter of you get there and you don't feel healthy because now you have heart disease or you have high cholesterol or whatever, now you're on tablets. You begin to feel unhealthy all the way along the process. So it's not so much about, I don't want to get such and such a disease. I don't want to get diabetes and have to pay the medication. All along that process, you get a little unhealthier and a little unhealthier. Things start going bad, more poorly for you. And then you probably start to get a little unlucky. You might, have a fall, and that might cause another issue. And then you've got to have more medication and blah, 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 blah. So it's not so much the end result. It's actually the process of your life. Being healthier along your entire life, is far more beneficial than just letting yourself slide and then going, all right, I've got the problems now, I'll deal with it. That's just my point of view in terms of why we want to be healthy. Wade?
Well, answering that question, I just thought, for me, that's a good question. It's a good place to start. Okay, talk to someone that's been unhealthy. Pardon?
We're almost at the end. It's a good place to finish, Wade.
Okay, talk to someone that was unhealthy, doing all the wrong things, they weren't in a good way, and they've dramatically changed their life and they're well up the healthy end of the scale now. Talk to that person and ask them if they'd want to go back. Or on the flip side, talk to someone that's had their health and they've lost it. I think there's your answer right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a fantastic place to finish too. Thanks a lot, boys. That was a fantastic discussion. We literally could go on for days on each of those topics.
And we'll come back to those too, won't we?
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Look, they're our pillars, so we will keep coming back to them over and over again to go a little bit more in depth into each of those areas. That'll do us for today. That's the EFM Health Club podcast. Thanks a lot, Jace. Thanks a lot, Wade. Appreciate that. We will be back next week. Look forward to talking to you then.
Have a great day, folks. See you later.
Cheers.